Hey everyone, today we're going to make a super easy recipe that I make all the time at home. I basically just gather whatever ingredients I have in the fridge that I need to get rid of, and then I simply chop them up into really small slivers and tiny pieces. So I use generally a variety of cabbages, mushrooms. In this recipe today, I had a bunch of just random greens from the Asian market, and I don't even know what some of them are. I just like to try new things. So every time I go to the Asian grocery, I usually try to pick up a few greens that I don't normally eat. And so I have a few of those, chopping those up, obviously. I added some scallions and some cilantro too. It was sort of going bad. I probably had it in my fridge for a green juice, to be honest, and then you know how it goes. Sometimes something just gets lost in the back of the fridge. You kind of forget about it. But if it's a little wilty, it works really well in this recipe. And again, I'm now chopping up some more scallions that sort of needed to be either used up fast or just maybe tossed in as a garnish somewhere. This is a really delicious green. It sort of reminds me of broccoli. It had these little crumbles in it. And yeah, the flavor was super mild and I definitely enjoyed it. I'm also adding a bit of daikon radish, which is an Asian radish that doesn't have too much heat to it. It can be a little intense if it's just eaten raw for some people, but when you add it to this veggie pancake ingredient, it really blends in well. I also had a red pepper that I just wanted to add in for color. It definitely wasn't going bad or anything like that, but I thought it would add a nice splash of vibrancy to the rest of the greens and cabbage mix. So as you can see, I'm just slicing up everything really thinly into julienne pieces and then dicing it even smaller if necessary. That'll help make sure that everything cooks evenly when you put it all together in the pancake batter. I'm also adding a bit of red cabbage here. Again, this was like the pepper. I just had it in my fridge and it was actually pretty fresh, but I thought, you know, this purple cabbage is gonna make these pancakes look really beautiful. And it's fun to add a variety of textures and colors to these sort of things because it helps you get a variety of nutrients and micronutrients and vitamins and all those good things into our bodies. So as you can see, I'm just making these pieces as tiny as possible. That'll also help speed up the cooking time once we have the batter. So now we're gonna go ahead and add all the dry ingredients. I'm using a chickpea flour that I got at the Asian market along with some arrowroot starch. I just have a bunch of it left over from the restaurants that couldn't get used. And then I'm going to add a little bit of black salt. You can usually find this in Asian grocery stores, and a bit of turmeric just for some color. I'm also adding a little bit of baking powder, and then I'm going to go ahead and take my whisk and evenly whisk it all together so that all of the ingredients are very well incorporated. And as I was whisking this, I thought, I don't know, I want to add some hot pepper. I mean, why not? This is usually how I cook, actually. I have an idea, and then I kind of wing it a little bit as I go based on what sounds good to me. So I'm going to go ahead and whisk in that hot pepper and make a little nest on the inside of the bowl so I can start adding a little bit of water to the batter. And I will go ahead and mix this up. This is the kind of recipe where you can really eyeball it. If you need a little more water, add it. If you think it's too thin and you need a little more flour, a little more arrowroot starch, go ahead and add that too. You really can't go very wrong with this recipe. Then I'm going to add my liquid batter to my giant bowl of vegetables and just go ahead, pour that on, scrape it all out of the bowl, and start mixing it all together. At this step, I sometimes might think I need a little more batter, in which case, like I said, I'll just eyeball it. I'll add a little more flour into there and a little more water if I need it. Then I preheat my non-stick griddle to 350 degrees And as best I can, I scoop out some of the vegetables and batter onto the griddle, and I try to make them as flat and even in the surface as possible, and that way it ensures that they'll cook at the same rate. I cover it with the lid, cook for 5 minutes, then flip and cover with the lid and cook again for 5 minutes. So now I'm just gathering my ingredients for the dipping sauce. It's just soy sauce and a little bit of rice vinegar, some toasted sesame oil and maple syrup for a sweetener, a little bit of toasted sesame seeds, and then again those really nice red hot peppers. I simply add everything to the jar that I have on hand and whisk it all together. It's not too complicated. This is really one of those things that anybody can eyeball and put together. I tighten the lid, give it a really good shake, and then set it aside for later. I set everything aside for later and decided to get outdoors and stretch my legs. There's a certain hike that I'd never taken before, but I'd heard that there was a waterfall at one point off the trail, and I went to go find it. When I finally got to the spot, the water wasn't running too much, but you take what you can when you live in the desert, and on a day when it was nearly 100 degrees outside, that little sprinkle of cold water felt so refreshing. Soon I was heading back on the trail, ready to get home and eat some of those delicious veggie pancakes that were waiting for me in my kitchen. Check out all these ocotillo. They're so beautiful right now. You can tell we've definitely been getting some rain. And then there was this little desert tortoise on the trail. Such a cool surprise. He was so cute. Finally, I got home and dinner was easy to reheat. I just threw the veggie pancakes that I'd already made back on the griddle for about 5 to 10 minutes each with the lid, and I poured out my dipping sauce from the jar into some individual bowls, cut up those pancakes into squares, and placed everything on a plate. This was such a good meal. I made a little miso soup with just a little bit of tofu and had some fresh tomatoes all sliced up. Oh my gosh, you guys, this was such a delicious meal. I highly encourage you to try it at home. I swear it's so easy and versatile, it'll quickly become one of your favorite recipes to make. Thanks for watching. Bye.